Good evening, Prescott Valley. Welcome to the Parks and Recreation Commission Work Study Meeting of March 29, 2016. Kathy, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Freer?
Here.
Chairperson Brinkman?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Tissot?
Here.
Commissioner Fallman?
Here.
And can we have a motion to approve the agenda? It's a very short agenda tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's work study.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the agenda is approved. And that brings up our item for tonight, and that's the Bob Edwards Park Review. Bob Edwards has been in the planning stage for many, many years, and the original plan, I believe, did have a provision for lighting. And one of the purposes we have tonight is to review this and a look at the lighting. So with that, Brian, will you lead us in?
I sure will. Give a little background on this particular project. Back in April of 2007, this project was approved by the Town Council for its construction. And then in January of 2008, this plan review was presented by the architectural firm, and it was approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission. A number of members of this commission were not part of that planning process and that approval process, so I know it's been an item of discussion over the years, and the majority of the commission is very aware of the project, its design, its consideration, and its intended purpose and function. The project serves as a detention basin for Section 14, and it is developed for a secondary purpose of the provision of a park. It will have a multi-purposed field, both soccer and football. It'll incorporate amenities for the support of such, which would include restrooms, parking, pavilion, as well as then also a playground for those visiting the site and serving in its additional role as a neighborhood park. Again, the project was approved by the Commission back in 2008. There are no staff anticipated plans for deviation from the approved plan, as those documents are literally sitting on the shelf ready for presentation to Council for construction that would be planned and scheduled in fiscal year 2016 and 17. In addition to that, originally as its development was listed as Basin 14 in 2009, the Parks and Recreation Commission also had presentation for the renaming of the park to Bob Edwards Park, former council member and longtime advocate of Parks and Recreation, especially as it relates to youth, i.e. This park being very apropos for its naming. And in January of 2009, that recommendation was presented to council and approved. So that transition of name from Basin 14 to Bob Edwards Park was taken place. Again, the purpose of tonight is reintroduction of these plans stemming all the way back to its approval in 2008 for bringing that to the table, because unfortunately in 2008 all capital projects literally almost through 2013 were tabled by council as economic impact was going on, decline of economy, and we are now growing out of that. This particular park, along with another future park of Agua Fria Park, are the two items that are slated for the use of development impact fees for its creation. It's anticipated in fiscal year 16-17 that we will have a large portion of those monies already encumbered and ready to go, and once we reach that point in time in the next fiscal year, if approved by council, this project will then be given a green light. So with that being said, I'm happy to review with the Commission the developed plan. Any revisement of this plan will be based upon the incorporation of technology. One of the particular vendors that would be part of that is the sports athletic lighting and the new technologies that are made available to us today, as well as then also some of the specifications as it relates to playgrounds. Those will be updated, and then some small refinements as it relates to landscaping, sidewalks, those construction specifications. But literally no altering of the plan, as this is a detention basin. It meets all of the floodwater requirements. There's no deviation from that plan in that process. But I would be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have, as well as then also turn over the floor to Dee Smith, our representative from Musco Lighting, so that he can help answer some of those questions, specifically as it relates to the new technology that's available.
One question I have, Brian, is elevation of the drainage channel in relation to the soccer field.
Yes.
Is it quite a bit lower?
It is a very mild and very low sloped deviation from the soccer field. We also have a 30-foot buffer surrounding the soccer field on all sides, and as you can see, that's actually increased probably right around 90 feet from the drainage channel itself. One of the elements of incorporation would be is to keep that modification very minimal, as well as then also extend the turf area into that so that entire area can be grassed and have a nice easy transition. The only times in which that would be negatively impacted is, of course, in the times of rain, and being able to handle that small rain as it comes through the detention basin easily, i.e. the pedestrian bridge that would cross that, and then also the access for equipment. But beyond that, the site is to act as a detention basin and handle those flows as it comes from all of that Section 15 and the business district adjacent.
And the parking, do we have a number for the parking spaces?
I believe it's somewhere between 60 and 70. I'm going to take a quick peek here.
It says 70.
Yes,
70 is what.
70? Yes. My eyes aren't quite as good as they were back in 08, so I had to look at that quick look there in doing such. And that is, again, to be able to accommodate those folks as it relates to it, the site being utilized as an athletic facility.
So, Brian, my question is about the roadway.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there some sort of a barrier that will...
It's literally a bermed hill. It's not a flat transition. It's a greatly increased little slope right through there.
Okay.
And that transition begins just past the entrance to the parking lot.
Okay.
And the lighting for the parking lot and the pathway?
Yes, the lighting for the parking lot will be the LED fixtures, the dark sky compliant fixtures that most recently were installed at Antelope Park. And then the bollard lighting or surrounding lighting or pathway lighting would be solar LED lighting again in that area.
And then for the field?
The field, we'll have that discussion with Mr. Smith. That is also part of that new technology and enhancement as it relates to LED lighting. We're all very familiar with Mountain Valley Park and the 3 different types of lighting that are located at that particular park. Back at the park's original development at the amphitheaters, there is the more antiquated qual light system. And that system was designed specifically so that camera, TV work could be held, as that is a junior college athletic field site for soccer purposes. And then Mountain Valley Park had the next level of technology, which is, again, one of Mr. Smith's products, again, working on the dark sky compliance. Mountain Valley Park then at its new synthetic field took another step up in technology with greater shielding. Matter of fact, the coup de grace at that point in time was it was developed for Flagstaff in partnership with the Lowell Observatory there in Flagstaff, with greater shielding and cutoff as it relates to the sports complex. And this is that next evolution as it relates to LED lighting for a truer light, as well as then also dramatically reduced energy consumption. And so that would be the one change as it relates to sport lighting, would be transitioning into new technology so long as budget's able to accommodate. Other than that, again, the plan, there's literally little to no deviation from the approved plan from 2008. It's just bringing it to the table, going through budgetary estimates, all of those kinds of things. There are components that would be not listed into the contract, but would actually be bought off of state purchases. That would be the lighting system, the restroom as a prefabricated unit, and then the ramada and playground.
Okay, well, we've had a chance to look at some of this before as a commission, and do we want to move into the lighting then? And
I think that would be fantastic, Mr. Smith, and come up and join us and make that presentation.
Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Dee Smith. I'm with Musco Lighting. Again, so the Musco LED technology, as Brian was saying, is the latest and greatest that Musco has recently come out with. We came out with it in 2013. Our first system that we put in was down in Georgia, and this is what you're looking at here. The great thing about the Musco LED technology is, I'm sure you all are familiar with all the other lights at your other parks. The glare that you're seeing, just like a car coming over a hill during nighttime, when those bright lights are on, that's the glare that's coming into your eyes. So what Musco's done is we put our shielding technology and we put our optics into our fixtures, so that way you can really, so that way you can really control the glare. There's no light coming directly into your eyes. And this here is, 500 feet away from the facility that we did in Georgia, and there's no direct glare coming into your eyes. So we really try to be neighborhood friendly, and again, dark skies compliant as well. Here, this is showing what we call spill, and spill is the light that does not go onto the playing field. Again, this is the field in Georgia that we did. As you can tell, the lights completely cut off outside of the field. So there's no light spilling into any of the neighbors. Again, try to be neighbor friendly and dark skies compliant.
that's what's really amazing about the new lighting technology. You can light the field and really have a fantastic playing field and not interfere with any of the neighbors or surrounding businesses. This is great.
Great. And this is actually one that we've done in Arizona. This is Tanque Verde High School down in Tucson. Yeah. Again, dark skies, Tucson. Musco is the only approved manufacturer in the city as well as in Flagstaff moving forward. Again, you can tell there's no direct light coming from those fixtures into your eyes. So the big bank of lights that you're seeing with the older technology, Musco's completely eliminated that. If there's any neighborhood spills, we have a great 10-year warranty. Our 10-year warranty covers all maintenance for that 10-year span. And if there's any complaints, we will come out and we will fine-tune on the field exactly what you guys need, where your complaints are coming from, and address that issue. Again, this is Sahuarita Park. This is, Quail Creek Park, which is in Sahuarita. Again, dark skies city down there with the Smithsonian Observatory that literally looks right over these fields. And, again, you can tell looking into the field, there's no lights coming directly into your eye, which is ideally what everybody's wanting. That's what we had for the slideshow. I'd love to show you how our fixture works, if that's all right with y'all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Brian, how tall are the poles that we're looking at putting these on?
The poles are going to be 70 feet tall.
70 feet tall.
Yes, sir.
And they sit down, I believe, 20 feet?
It's 20 feet in the berm, I believe.
Yeah. So actually it'll be
So it's really 50 feet.
essentially a 50-foot pole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, can we hear it? Okay. Again, one of the great things about the LED technology, you don't have to wait 15 minutes, 20 minutes to cut on the field. So the lights with LED are instant on and off. Your perception of brightness with LED, again, is much more cleaner look. It looks brighter on the field as well. You can cut the fixture off. There's no downtime. Just, I'm sure you folks are familiar with the Super Bowl a few years back when the lights went out. Had to wait 20 minutes for them to cut them back on. There's no time to wait. You can cut the lights right back on as well. Again, we put the adjustable visor on here so that way we're really able to direct the light exactly where we want to go and paint a line exactly where we want the light to stop on the field as well. which also helps with the glare control. If any neighbors complain or anything, we can come in, drop the visor down a little bit. That way, get it out of the glare of the neighbors as well.
That visor, how much wind would that handle, considering we've had so much of late?
When you're doing wind for lighting fixtures, we use EPA. For the LED, it's actually 1.8 compared to the older fixtures, which are about 2.2. So we're actually dropping the wind load with the new LED fixtures.
So it would stand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's more aerodynamic,
That's correct.
Yeah.
like an airplane. It's not going to fly, though.
Is that
So-
a Emerald riddle?
Good.
Okay. And that's our
Excellent.
fixture here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Musco started in 1976. We all used back then the regular spun aluminum housing, that the older technology that you're used to. In 2005, we came out with our Green Series metal halide, which was 40% energy savings over the older technology. And with the new LED, 75 to 80% energy savings over the older technology, 40% over the Musco Green Series. So LED does reduce the energy cost. That's the great thing about with the LEDs as well, the bringing down the energy.
And the life of the LEDs is?
The life of the LEDs, they're still doing testing on them. The great thing with the LEDs are we're getting new chips monthly almost, and we're able to extend out 6 times what we're testing right now. So a lot of our fields that we're saying it's 36,000 hours is the lifespan of the LED.
Great.
Compared to 5,000 hours for metal halide, which we would then come out and relamp the whole system. With the LEDs, they're going to withstand for 40, 50 years before you're having to change out anything on the LED circuit there.
Fantastic.
So with the plan that we have in front of us here, this lighting would just be contained for the playing field, and then parking lot lighting and path lighting would be separate from what we're talking.
Yes, sir, that is
Okay.
correct.
And the parking lot lighting, I assume, would be similar.
Similar, that's Musco doesn't really do the parking
Okay.
lot lighting, so that's Brian going to take
Yes,
over there.
and with that, we'd be utilizing the same technology, LED, and again, it would reflect then the new lights that are in Antelope Park,
Okay.
around the walkways in Mountain Valley Park. Those have been our 2 most recent applications that we've made with LEDs for parking lot lighting.
That one photo you had of the 4 ball field complex,
Yes, sir.
is that just pure from the 70-foot tall poles on everything, or do you have other lighting
actually-
within the cloverleaf there?
No, we actually had a drone go up and take this photo.
Okay.
So this one here has 24 poles is what
Okay.
that system's going to do. Again, with the LEDs, the control of light is so great
Yeah.
that we're able to cut a couple poles out in our systems as well.
And no shadows for the outfielders trying to field the fly
That's
ball.
exactly-
Fields
Yes, sir.
really have good lighting.
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
To that point, Dee, please confirm for me if I'm incorrect, especially as it relates to this particular site being a football soccer field. The foot candles that are required on that athletic field are much less than what you would have on a baseball field.
Yeah.
What that number is, I don't know, but we would be taking what typically I believe is at our synthetic soccer field in Mountain Valley Park. I believe that's at 50, and these would actually be at a 30.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's even reduced even more, but yet with a cleaner light system.
Yeah.
Again, and that's the great thing about the LED is your perception of brightness is much brighter with LED, and it's just a cleaner look. So what we call uniformities on the field, so your high points and your low points on the field, it looks very smooth all the way across, and that gives your perception of brightness to be much brighter with LED.
Do we have any other questions from the commission? Okay, well, with that, do we want to take public comment? Kathy, would you read our...
Those members of the public wishing to address the Parks and Recreation Commission need not request permission in advance. We ask that you please provide your name and address for the record prior to providing any comments. Any remarks provided tonight shall be addressed to the Commission as a whole and not any member thereof. Such remarks shall be limited to 5 minutes per person unless additional time is granted by the chairperson. At the conclusion of the unscheduled comments, individual members of the Commission may respond to the item addressed at the discretion of the chairperson, or they may ask the director to review the matter or ask that the matter be placed upon a future agenda.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to? Sure, sir, come on down.
Excuse me.
Hi, my name is Brett Polican. My address is 4074 North Fiesta Way. A couple of things I just wanted to bring to the Commission's attention, and as well as the designer of this whole process, is I'm not sure exactly what the integration of the current sidewalk path that adjoins Viewpoint to Long Look, what the integration plan was at, if that's going to happen or if that's not going to happen. As well as, is there going to be a sidewalk that continues down Long Look into the new intersection at Glassford and Long Look, if that's a plan to continue it, continue that sidewalk. Secondly, the restroom location, it appears to be out of place in my mind. Usually that's somewhere right near the playground. If you have multiple kids and one kid needs to use the restroom, you can do that effectively. Walking up that path seems to be a bit inconvenience, if you would, to walk that. I don't know what it would be, maybe 150 yards per se, maybe not even that long. In my experience, the rounded parking lot seems to be ineffective when it comes to actually locating a parking space. It seems to be a lot of wasted parking space. I know it looks great on the screen and on paper, but you are, I think, losing a bit of parking, if you would, just by doing that curved parking lot. So with those three things, everything else looks great for me. Live right down the street, looking forward to the advancement of this project for the last 5 years. And it's been great to see an advancement here. So anything I can clarify or...
Well, maybe Brian can clarify some of those.
Okay, question number one related to sidewalks. What we will be looking at working to do, because again this predated that development at that time, we'll be looking to, and I apologize.
Just goes,
yes,
this dirt pathway here.
Correct, and you do have that sidewalk that is planned for that process. So we'll be looking at the connectivity off of Viewpoint right here at the top, and let me try to see. If we do this. Magic tool. I'll try to. Okay. So now that I have the magic laser pointer, what we're referring to is the sidewalk that adjoins Viewpoint. What we're looking at is connectivity at the Viewpoint location, right at this little spur, if you will. Currently, there's a sidewalk that goes roughly into about that location along Long Look. Our streets department will be looking at having that in their fiscal year, and it will continue through to the park entrance itself. After that, the remainder of that sidewalk and its development will come based upon future developments that will be adjoining in those properties to the west, and it would continue all the way out to then Glassford as we go through. Secondly, as it relates to the playground, its location is right here. That was actually staff discussion as well. If you will look, this is about a 330-foot, 360-foot stretch across the soccer field. So that gives you an idea of the approximation, which might be about half that. So that gives you that distance. But We've talked, and it has to go through the FEMA review because of this being a floodplain and detention basin, whether we can flip-flop onto the other side of that sidewalk. Yes, literally flip that playground to the other side if it can be altered in that way. And that might have been part of that original design and development without speaking to that individual and its requirements.
Maybe even, I mean, this is just me playing devil's advocate, but possibly jump in the restroom on the south end instead of the southeast end of the parking lot.
Unfortunately, in that situation with the restroom there, the elevation change and then also the proximity to the necessary lines for waste is the necessity for that location there, yes. As it relates to parking lot, that was part of design necessity from back in 2008 in trying to give as much accommodation as we could, but also just due to the topography changes that occur after this point in time, trying to utilize it in the best fashion we could, as well as then also providing this berm buffer along the roadway for that exact reason of parking lot lighting as well too. Okay. No, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Also, the design of the parking lot will keep the traffic speed down, in which we want to do that too. They can't go flying in and out from one end to the other.
Do we have any other? Come on up.
Take your time.
Hi, I'm Judy Seidel, and I'm the lucky one that lives on the corner of Viewpoint and Long Look.
Well, you may be lucky.
I don't know. I'm curious, number one, why they built that. I lost part of my view. They built a hill clear up, you know, and I thought the soccer field was going to go right there. That's what they had told me originally. So why is that hill? Used to be flat. I used to have the cows there, and
Can you help?
I'm right on the corner
Okay, so
with
we're-
the white wrought iron fence.
We're talking about this section?
Yeah,
of
and
the park?
of course, this must be the old Viewpoint because I used to have a corner lot and they moved it over.
Right.
So, and then I wanted to know: are these all going to be trees along there? But that hill is right there. So,
Right.
Yeah, well,
What you have, again, that hill was built, this was excavated in regards to water retention for flood control, and that whole Viewpoint corridor is done in exactly that same fashion via our street department. So you'll have the transference of stormwater management across, which is
Yeah, it
going
goes
kitty quarter.
underneath and
Yes, exactly.
over
Yes, ma'am.
there.
Now, as far as that hill being is going to remain as it exists, if anything, there will be some continued development of that berm along this whole edge. But literally, all of the larger green will represent trees, as you already have some of those same trees
but
that
how
are
can you put
grown over
trees
there.
on the hill?
You'll be able to plant those right into that edge. And so it'll be back and removed from that existing sidewalk and setting right on top of there.
Well, I hope they do something because one time the Parks and Recreation finally came over, I must have had 600 tumbleweeds in my yard that were up to there, all the way down the front driveway, the back driveway. And the guy said, well, lady, you got to get rid of them yourself. Finally, he did a drive-by, and they gave me a truck for a day and a half because that whole thing was nothing but tumbleweeds.
Then with the development of this particular parcel, that will be worked to be eliminated because it's all been revegetated in the native grasses. Now what transition over here in these additional parcels under ownership right now, that's part of that process. And tumbleweeds, they continue to roll, and roll.
Oh, I have hundreds.
Yes.
Of them.
I have fun in my properties as well.
all over myself. But I had two old ladies walking down the street. They helped me. Now, is this part here, is this across the street from the library? Or like,
oh,
We're in the library currently as it exists. So you're literally looking directly at the intersection of Viewpoint and Long Look right there. And so this is down into that basin.
so what is this street over here? Or
There is
I
no
just
street at the backside. So right here, you're at the corner of Viewpoint and Long Look. So that's this area right through here, okay? And then this is all of that property line. And then this is the current and existing barbed wire fence that contains this whole little area of parkland.
Okay, I
So
guess
as you
that's
walk
what's-
down Viewpoint, you'll be able to look off to your left-hand side as you're driving back home tonight and see that barbed wire fence as it exists.
Okay.
Okay, and then this steep bank right here is just right over the hill and goes down the side. Same thing here. This is what you're able to look into, and all of that flat area down below will be the athletic field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be up here when they built that hill and where it's flat. So it just looks like that's so far away, but it's not then.
Yes, it's just down in the hole about 20
And then
some
you're
odd
going to
feet.
do all the trees, and so it'll look nice then.
Yes,
huh?
ma'am.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out when I go home.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments? No other comments or questions?
If there are none, I'd just like to again advise the commission what we'll be doing. Staff will be presenting fiscal year 16-17 budget to the town council as the project exists in that request. If approved by the council in May, it'll then be going through the council's review and budget hearings and then approved documentation in June. And then in July, if it's approved there in June, we'll go through processes of doing bid requests and initiating the project in the summer. With those bid requests, getting documentation, any other refinements will be put into play, and then construction starting as soon following at that, with completion then by June of 2017.
Good.
If there are other elements that we find that development impact fees, we do not have substantial reserves for that, then elements, as I was describing earlier, that we're able to purchase off of contracts, i.e. the lights, the ramadas, the restroom's automatic, but the ramada, the lights, and then the playground, those will be items that will be purchased then following. So. But other than that, the main infrastructure, all those components will be ready to go for that time frame, and completion in June of 2017. Fingers crossed. Monsoons to be friendly, but well saturating.
I think we're going to have a really nice park here. There is always a huge demand. We've had groups come to us frequently and ask for more playing fields, and having this one as a lighted playing field for soccer, multi-use, it's going to be a real asset, and yet there won't really be any interference with the surrounding neighbors. Now, when I leave here in the evenings and go home, I go by that corner, and I'll tell you the truth, I kind of wish there was a street light up there.
There you go.
Because it's pretty dark down there. But
Well, and again, working through those dark sky compliance requirements, that's exactly what we're looking for. The beauty of this is it's just not a vacant hole, i.e. as one of our neighbors spoke earlier in regards to collecting or helping to distribute tumbleweeds, those kinds of things that our other neighbors expressing in regards to the joy that his children will be able to have and all the activities to be able to take place. I think it'll be a tremendous asset, not only for the community, but enriching that neighborhood. So, in doing that. So, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
One last question. I meant to bring it up earlier. As far as use of the field, it'll be open to tournaments. It'll be open to
all activities, as all of our other
activities.
general neighborhood and community parks are. Yes, sir.
And the size of the parking lot should really facilitate the tournaments as we're changing teams, so that really helps out. Any other questions from the commission?
One last one for me. Will this east boundary be fenced, or will you be able to go from the sidewalk and enter over
You
the
will
hill
be
into
able
the-
to do that, yes, ma'am. Again, that's why we want to have that connectivity with the sidewalk on both sides, so that you'll be able to go into the park, utilize it, not have to go through the landscaping, those kinds of things, enjoy the exercise path, all of those goodies, and enjoy and have great connectivity.
In regards to tournaments and league play, so to speak, this is just native hillside around here. People just bring their lawn chairs, or is there any plans to do any more than native grasses there where?
If it's at all possible, what we would really like to do is literally from sidewalk to sidewalk, north, south, east, and west, is incorporate all of it into turf if at all possible. Again, it makes the site more rich, if you will. It minimizes then weeds. Minimizes in regards to those tumbleweeds, those kinds of things, the ease of maintenance, just quality view shed, all of those kinds of things, with exception to those very, very steep grades. There's really no other way to be able to do that because, again, from the maintenance, utilizing mowers and those kinds of things, it's very, very impractical. But that's ultimately our goal, plus to give that spectator great seating. If you have other siblings that are there, they can enjoy themselves, rolling around, having a great time. And so it just really enhanced that particular site dramatically.
Outstanding.
Any other?
I think that this corner really will come around and be quite beautiful from the way it is now.
Definitely from the way it is now, yes,
From the
ma'am.
way it is now, it's going to be really picturesque. The town people will really love it.
Okay, with that, Mr. Smith, thank you very much for bringing your equipment and demonstrating. I am a huge fan, and I think probably as time goes on, we'll be seeing more and more LED because it is so efficient and it is so cost-effective and saves so much money. I wish this would have been around some years ago.
Again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well. So
Now, thank you for bringing all your equipment for us to see, too. That
it was
was
not a problem.
very nice.
Easy to tote that thing around now.
Oh, yeah?
All right, thank you very much. And with that, the last item on our agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
And a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we're adjourned.